Two friends die in St. Mary crash.
Two men who are said to have been close friends died from injuries they sustained in a motor vehicle crash along the Boscobel Main Road in St. Mary on Saturday morning. The deceased are 31-year-old taxi operator Curtis Small and Siobhan Grant, both of Hampstead in St. Mary. Reports are that shortly after 2 a.m. on Saturday, Small was driving a Toyota Probox motorcar along the roadway from Ocho Rios, with Grant as a passenger in the front seat, when Small lost control of the vehicle and it crashed into a garbage truck. Siobhan Grant. The police were alerted and Grant, Small and persons who were on the garbage truck were all assisted to the hospital, where the two friends were pronounced dead. The other persons were admitted for treatment. Small's father, Derval, in an interview with reporters, described his son as fun-loving and one who loved partying. He said his son and Grant would often go to parties together. Curtis Small. Meanwhile,
Woman in custody after cops find gun in bar.
One woman is in custody following the seizure of a firearm and several rounds of ammunition at Lower Ward Close in Kingston 8. Reports from the Constant Spring Police are that at about 7:40 p.m. on Friday, lawmen conducted a joint police/military operation in the area where the suspect was seen sitting inside a bar. A search was conducted and a .89mm pistol loaded with a magazine containing 13 9mm rounds was found on a shelf under the bar's counter. The bartender was arrested, however, her identity is being withheld pending.
Curfew imposed in Union Gardens as criminals wreak havoc in area.
A 48-hour curfew has been imposed in the Union Gardens community of the St. Andrews South Police Division. The curfew commenced at 6 p.m. on Saturday, April 29th, and will remain in effect until 6 p.m. on Monday, April 31st. The boundaries of the curfew are north from the intersection of Brotherton and Oakland Drive going easterly following an imaginary line to the intersection of Waltham Park Road and 17 Lane. East from the intersection of Waltham Park Road and 17 Lane following an imaginary line to an unnamed point in Union Gardens. South, from the unnamed point in Union Gardens going westerly following an imaginary line to the intersection of Ashenham Road and Developmental Road. West, from the intersection of Ashenham Road and Developmental Road going northerly following an imaginary line to the intersection of Brotherton and Oakland Drive. During the hours of the curfew, all persons within its boundaries are required to remain within their premises unless otherwise authorized in writing by the ground commander. The aim of this operation is to apprehend criminal elements aligned to these warring factions within the division and seizure of illegal firearms, ammunition, dangerous drugs, wanted persons, and persons of interest, as also to curtail the escalation of crimes within these spaces.
Man booked for murder after off-duty cop intervened in gun attack.
A 32-year-old Westmoreland man has been charged with murder following a shooting at Top Road in Little London, Westmoreland on Saturday, April 22. Charged with the murder of 47-year-old Oswell Brown, a bike taxi operator of Ebenezer District in the parish, is Bruce Titer of Delvland District, Westmoreland. Reports are that Brown was driving his Jamco motorcycle along Top Road when he was intercepted by a car that was being driven by Titer. A passenger alighted from the vehicle and opened gunfire, hitting Brown multiple times. An off-duty police officer who was in the vicinity attempted to accost the men, but they managed to escape. In response, an investigation was launched and Titer was apprehended shortly after. The motorcar that was used in the commission of the killing was also seized. A question-and-answer session was conducted with Titer in the presence of his attorney and formal charges were proffered against him on
Burglar killed during mob attack in Portland.
An unidentified man was killed after he allegedly attempted to rob occupants of a house in Church Lane, Hart Hill, Portland on Friday, April 28. Reports from the Port Antonio police are that at about 3:10 a.m., the man entered the house and hid under a bed prior to the occupants entering the house. He then proceeded to rob them when an alarm was raised. The assailant was then mobbed by residents. The police were summoned and upon their arrival, the burglar was dead. Investigations continue.
Prison inmate on gun conviction escapes custody.
A search is underway for an inmate who escaped from the Tamarind Farm Adult Correctional Center in Spanish Town, St. Catherine on Friday afternoon. In a release, the Department of Correctional Services, DCS, said it was reported by an officer at the institution that approximately 2:25 p.m., the inmate, Jermaine Jackson, escaped from among a group of 22 inmates who were working on the farm at the institution. Jackson was serving a sentence of 1 year for assault at common law and 7 years at hard labor for illegal possession of firearm. The DCS said it is collaborating with the police to find the escape.
15 men listed as persons of interest in St. Catherine South.
The St. Catherine South Police have listed the names of 15 men as persons of interest and have issued a warning for the individuals to report to the Portmore Criminal Investigations Branch, CIB, by 12 p.m. on Monday, May 1st. The men have been identified as Ricardo Henry, otherwise called Ricky, Dummy, Ural, Eccleston, and Humphrey Eccleston, another man identified as Tay, and Mario, Kamar Deshawn, otherwise called Crisp. Jaden TNA, Alvin Brown, otherwise called Swabless, Richard Wallace, otherwise called Aki Man or Burke, Noel Richard, Deli Johnson, Dimitri Morgan, otherwise called Boxhead, Rohan Brown, otherwise called Addy or Tekka, Sanjay Dixon, otherwise called Blackman, Andre Orlando Williams, otherwise called Shoe Shine or Zeeks, Scully or Tata, Ricardo Hales, otherwise called Bobo. Detectives have identified these persons as individuals who may be able to assist them with ongoing investigations. Attempts to contact these individuals via their addresses and telephone have proven futile. Additionally, anyone with information that can assist in locating these individuals is being asked to contact the Portmore CIB at 876-949-8397, Crime Stop at 311, the JCF tip line at 811, or the nearest police station.
Not counted. RSU erases St. Thomas crash victims from national data.
The 3 fatalities that resulted from Tuesday's 2-vehicle collision along a section of the Albion Main Road in St. Thomas have been officially erased from the National Database and Fatal Collision Statistics of the Road Safety Unit, RSU. According to the RSU, its decision to do so is based on information it has since received from the police that the collision occurred on a closed section of roadway which is undergoing construction. Part of the criteria the unit uses for reporting on and recording fatal collision are that the crash has been reported to the police, the crash occurred on a road open to and being used by the public, whether the road is public or private, and the crash involved a vehicle which, at the time of the crash, was in motion. In its own reporting on the St. Thomas crash, the RSU noted that the incident occurred at about 6:40 p.m. on Tuesday, and involved 2 white Toyota Corolla make vehicles. The RSU said both vehicles were proceeding along the Albion Main Road in opposite directions. Both vehicles were traveling along the westbound carriageway that is currently under construction. On approaching a section of the roadway, it was reported that the Toyota motorcar registered 5205 kh was in the process of overtaking, and whilst in the process of overtaking, both vehicles collided head-on, causing injuries and fatalities, the RSU said. 3 males aged 61, 29 and 41 years died as a result of the impact. Other reports are that the vehicles were being operated as public passenger vehicles, and 12 persons were taken to hospitals suffering from various injuries. Meanwhile, the RSU is reporting that 135 people have been killed in 123 fatal crashes as at Friday, April 28. This represents an 8% decrease in fatalities and a 5% decline in fatal crashes when compared with the similar period in 2022.